Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Crocheters Creed, and today we are going to be making a Brofist pillow. Now the Brofist is the logo for Pewdiepie, and I've been a fan since about 2009, and the pattern's pretty easy, so these are the materials that you will need. Now you will need a 6mm hook for the pillow. The pillow portion is going to be dark blue and a square, so you will need a 6mm hook for that. You will need a 5.5mm hook for the white portion, or the white outside of the Brofist. You will need a 5mm hook for the dark blue portion of the Brofist, and a 4.5mm hook for the actual light blue fist. Now for the yarn, you will need dark blue for the pillow portion and one portion of the Brofist, white yarn for the portion of the Brofist, a little light blue yarn for the actual fist. You will also need scissors, your yarn needle. You can use your glue gun, but this time I won't, and since I have a good amount of stuffing that I just don't want to sit close to the camera, you will also need pillow stuffing. So that's all the materials that you will need for this project, so let's get started. Alrighty, now you are going to take your dark blue yarn and your 6mm hook, and you are going to make a slip knot. Oh, okay. You will take your needle, 6mm hook, and put it in a loop. Now, for this portion, I make two sides of each pillow and then I join them together. So remember, after you make this side of the pillow, you also need to make an identical side. So for this portion, you will chain 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm just going to speed this up. 36. Magic. You will chain 36. Now this is the desired length that I wanted it to be. If it's not how, because the pillow is going to be square. If you don't want it, if you want it bigger or smaller, you can chain less or add more on if you want it to be a big pillow or a tinier pillow. But I chained 36, and since it's going to be a small pillow that I want it to be, I chained 36. So after you have chained 36, you are going to put a half double crochet in every stitch across. If you don't remember what a half double crochet is, you are going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through one. Now you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 3. And that is a half double crochet. And don't get the stitch that your half double crochet is in mixed up with the next stitch. So you go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up, pull through 3 loops. And you're going to put a half double crochet in every stitch across for the starting row. Okay, now this is my starting row with my half double crochet. And since a half double crochet takes up a bit more yarn, your desired chain that you made is going to end up a bit smaller. So crochet, chain more if you want it to be long enough. But I think this is good enough for me since I want a tiny pillow. So after you are done, you are going to chain 3. Chain 3. Now I don't really like chaining 3 because it has this this gap there when you're chaining. I like to chain 2, but if you want to chain 3, it's fine. But for this, I'm going to chain 3 just to show you. And for rows 1, because I don't count the first one as the first row, for rows 1 through 30, you are going to put a half double crochet in every stitch around, and remember to chain 3. Remember to chain 3, and also to go into the same stitch that you chained your 3. So I already did that, but I'm going to show you what I mean. After you chain your 3, the stitch, don't go into the next one, go into the stitch that you chained 3. So go into that one, the same stitch, and do a half double crochet. So the hole isn't as pronounced as if you were to go into the next one. So rows 1 through 30, and remember to make another side for the pillow. And after this, I will show you how to make the Brofist. Alrighty, now I did 22 rows of my for my pillow. 22 rows was enough for me, and you're supposed to make 2 sides to this. I want to make sure you can see it, but we're just going to join each side together and stuff the stuffing in the middle like we did with the other pillows. But now we are going to start actually making the Brofist. So alright, now you're going to take your white yarn and your 5.5 millimeter hook, and we are going to start on the outer portion of the Brofist. So you're going to make a slip, a slip knot. Going to make a slip knot. You're going to add your 5.5 millimeter hook, and you are going to chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that's the desired length that I want it to be. 8, you're going to single crochet down the row. If you don't remember what a single crochet is, you go into the next loop, yarn over, pull up 1 loop, yarn over, pull up 2 loops, and you're going to single crochet across the entire row. After you are finished, this is what it's going to look like. It's pretty dark, right? Now you're going to chain 1. You're going to chain 1 at the beginning of every row and turn. And for rows 1 through 4, you are going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch across. And remember to go back in to the same stitch you chained your 1. So yarn over and do a single crochet and make a single crochet down the entire row for rows 1 through 4. Alright, now after you are done, this is what it's going to look like. I'm trying not to put it in the light so it doesn't glare as much, but that's what it's going to look like. And for row 5, you're going to chain 1, go inside, same stitch, single crochet down the row. This is row 6, single crochet down the row, and in the very last stitch you are going to put 3 single crochet. So I put 1 single crochet in there. This is the last stitch. Now we're going to go in and do another single crochet. That's 2 single crochet. Do 1 more single crochet into the last stitch until it is 3. There are 3 single crochet on your thing. See how it kind of hooks there. Now you're going to chain 1. I'm sorry, that was for row 5. Sorry, row 5. Now for row 6, you're going to chain 1, and you are going to go into that next stitch there, the next stitch there, and you are going to single crochet down the entire row. Oh, come on. Single crochet down the entire row. For rows, let's see, for rows 6 through 8. So rows 6 through 8, you are going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch across and chain 1. Alright, now for row 9, you are going to chain 1, and this is what it's going to start to look like, a tiny little curve there. And for row 9, you are going to chain 1 and turn, go into that same stitch, single crochet across the entire row until you get to the last stitch. And in the last stitch, you are going to put 3 single crochet into the last stitch again. So, this 3 single crochet. So, coming down to the last stitch, and that's 1 single crochet. Go into the same stitch again. That's 2 single crochet. Go into the next same stitch again. That's 3 single crochet. And these increases make it curve a bit more, so that the fist can fit in between it. And don't worry about the rugged edges. We're going to put a border around it when we're done. So after you do that, after row 9, moving on to row 10, chain 1. And for rows 10 through 12, you are going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch across. Don't forget to go into that next stitch so that it won't, like that. And 10 through 12, you are going to put a single crochet in every stitch across. Alright, now after you are done with that, you are going to chain 1, and for row 13, as we had before, you are going to single crochet down the row, and in the very last stitch, you are going to put 3 more single crochet into the last stitch, like we have in the previous time. I think you have the hang of it now. So after you get to the end, after you get all the way to the end, in the very last stitch, put 3 single crochet, chain 1, and for rows 14 through 17, you are going to put a single crochet in every stitch around. And if you're confused about the pattern, it will always be linked in the description of every video. So after you finish round 13, 3 single crochet in the last stitch. Here, I'll show you so that those who so no one gets confused. You know, it can be easier to see than to reset. So that's 1 single crochet in the last stitch. Go in, do a second one. Go in and do a third one. And it starts to bend a bit more. And it's going to be facing this way. After round 13, for rows 14 through 14 through 17, 1 single crochet, every stitch across, and a chain 1. For row 18, after you've done all your rows, you are going to chain 1, and this is how it's going to look. You're going to chain 1, and you are going to single crochet again across the entire row until you get to the last stitch, and you are going to put your 3 single crochet in the last stitch. Pardon me, you're not going to put 3 single crochet in the last stitch. You're just going to single crochet across the top. When you get to the last stitch, just put 1 single crochet into it, and then you are going to chain 1 and single crochet along the entire border, just to make it look a bit more, make it look a little bit better. So go into the parts where kind of would be considered a stitch, and just go through and single crochet along the entire border until you get all the way back to this point, or this point of the Brofist. Alright, now this is what it's going to look like after you are done. You are going to yarn off, and this is what it's going to look like. This is the outer portion of the Brofist. Now we are going to move on to the side, excuse me, the blue portion of our Brofist. Now you're going to need your 5mm hook for this portion of it, and so you have to unravel it. I was not prepared. Alright, so you're going to take your blue yarn, you're going to make, excuse me, you're going to make a slip knot. You're going to add your 5mm hook, and throughout this it's good to have your white portion of it so that you can make sure that it's not bigger than the white portion, excuse me, because you're going to have, it's going to be smaller each time. So for this portion, make a slip knot, and you are going to chain 5 this time. So 1, 2, oh that's ugly, let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it looks tiny, but I promise you after you add the border, it's going to line up perfectly. So you're going to single crochet down the entire row. It's not that much, so I'm just going to show you. Single crochet down the entire row. And once it gets smaller, it makes it easier. It fills out more when you go into the same stitch. So after you are done, after you single crochet down the row, you are going to chain 1 like always. And for rows 1 through 3, you are going to single crochet in every stitch across, and remember to go into that same stitch. But for rows 1 through 3, do a single crochet in every stitch across, and don't forget this tiny stitch at the end. Done with row 3, you are going to chain 1, and for row 4, you are going to single crochet in the same stitch again, like we've done before. Single crochet down the row until you get to the last stitch, and in the last stitch, like we did the white portion, you are going to put 3 single crochet into the same stitch, or 3 single crochet into the last stitch, and that makes it curve a bit. And afterwards you are going to chain 1, and for rows 5 through 7 you are going to put a single crochet in every stitch across, and don't forget that the one next to it, and keeps rows 5 through 7, put 1 single crochet in every stitch across. Now after you are done, for row 8 you are going to chain 1, and like you have before, single crochet across the entire row until you get to the last stitch, and in the last stitch you are going to put 3 single crochet into the stitch. So I'm at the last stitch, gonna yarn over, that's 1, going again, that's 2, going one more time, and that is 3. And as you can see, it's going to start to line up a bit. Just pull it out a bit, and you're going to chain 1, and for rows 9 through 11 you are going to single crochet in every stitch across, and don't forget the next stitch there. 9 through 11, single crochet all the way across. Alright, now after you are done, for row 12, you are going to single crochet across the top. You're going to single crochet across the row, and I already did that, so you could just see the ending part for those that are still not confused, but just want to see it so they won't get confused doing it on their own. It's 1, 2, and 3. Gonna chain 1, turn around, and after that, for rows 13 and 14, we're going to single crochet across the entire row. Now after you are done, for row 15, we're going to chain 1 and single crochet across the entire row and then around the remainder of the border to line up your ends better. After you are done, this is what it's going to look like, and you can add it to your thing just to make sure that it looks right to you. Now that we are done with this, I yarned off with my yarn. After we are done with this, we will start with the actual fist, which you will need your light blue yarn and your 4.5 millimeter hook. Alright, now for the thumb portion, because it's a fist and it's the thumb that overlaps but is like this, the thumb portion, you are going to make a slip knot. Take your 4.5 millimeter hook and you are going to make sure, come on, you are going to chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now you're going to single crochet down the row. Oh, come on. I'm trying to move really slowly with this yarn because the tinier the needle, it seems the more it kind of shreds up the yarn if you're not doing it fully. So, oh, come on. Run over, through to the last stitch and put a single crochet in it. And that is the starting row. See how that does that? That is the starting row. We are going to chain 1. Let's try that a little break in. See, it gets all messy. Let's try that again. Go in, run over, pull up 1. Still doing it. Here we go. Go in, run over, pull up. There we go. Come on. Chain 1. Oh, it's still doing it. One moment. Alright, I am back. Sorry. So, you will chain 1. And for rows 1 and 2, you are going to put a single crochet in every stitch across. And remember to do not go into the go into the same stitch, go into the next stitch, and yarn over and pull through and do a single crochet. And you're going to repeat this. Put 1 single crochet in every stitch for rows 1 and 2. Remember to chain 1. If you are done, for row 3, you are going to chain 1, and in the beginning, you're going to go into the next stitch, and you are going to do an increase in the first stitch, and in the last stitch. Come on, why does it always do this? Be a team player, man. Alright, you're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, go into the next stitch, pull through, go into the next stitch. Come on. Pull through. In the very last stitch, you are going to do an increase as well. And after that, you are going to chain 1. And for row 4, you are going to go into the next stitch. Oh, excuse me. For row 4, you're going to chain 1, and you're going to do a decrease into that stitch, and then you're going to single crochet across the remainder of the row. After you are done, you are going to single crochet around the entire border, and after that you will yarn off. After you're done, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to put the thumb down just to see what it looks like to you, if it looks a lot better to you. Now I'm done with that. Now we're going to start to make the fingers. So, okay. Now for the finger portion of just the fingers here, you are going to, for the first knuckle in the Brofist, it only has three fingers. For the first knuckle, you are going to chain 3. Remember, be careful with the yarn because it likes to shred it like you've seen. And go into that stitch, make a single crochet into basically the 2 tiny stitches that you just made. It's not that much, excuse me. And you're going to chain 1. Oh, come on. Let's try that again. You are going to chain 1. Thank you. You're going to chain 1 and turn, and you're going to, let's pull that close so that looks a lot better. You're going to go into the same stitch that you chained your 1 and pull up a loop. You're going to go into the next stitch and single crochet down. Going to go into that last stitch and single crochet into it. And that's how tiny it's going to look like. But it'll start to come together, and we will add a border just to make it look a bit better. Now for rows 2 through 5, this is row 1. Rows 2 through 5, you are going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch across and chain 1. So rows 2 through 5. If you are done with rows 2 through 5, you are going to chain 1, and you are going to put an increase. I may make a border around one portion of it so that they will all fit, because the first time I made this, and I'll show you what the one that I made looks like, all of them don't really fit. It's just too snug, and I don't like the way that looks. So I don't think I'm going to add a border for all of them. But if you want to add a border to make them look a bit better, or a bit more uniform, you can. But I may just add a border to one side to make it fill out a bit more, because I think it's too skinny. So after you are done, if you choose to, single crochet around the entire border, or around a certain part of it, or around one border, and then yarn off after you are done. Alright, now this is my first finger. Now we are going to go on, let's move this to the side. We're going to move on to our middle finger. You're still using your light blue yarn. You're going to make a slip. Oh no. You're going to make a slip. Yeah. Let's try that again. There we go. You're going to make a slip stitch. Not. Sorry, it's late. You're going to make a slip stitch, and you are going to make it the exact same way you made your first knuckle. So, like I said before, if you are confused about any any of the pattern that you see now, you can always go back and rewind it, or the link will always be in the description of each video. So, if you don't remember it, chain 3, single crochet down the row. For row 1, you chain 1, single crochet across. For rows 2 through 5, you're going to single crochet across the whole entire row. For row 6, you're going to chain 1, do an increase in the beginning, and single crochet around the entire border if you so choose to. If you do not, you can single crochet around one portion of it to make it to your liking. Just make it to your liking. Alrighty, now, after you are done, for the very last finger in the Brofist, you are going to make a slip knot, and you're still using your 4.5mm hook. And for the last knuckle, you will still be doing the same exact pattern, except for row 6, you will not do an increase in the beginning. So you'll chain 3, single crochet down the row. You will and you're going to chain 1 for row 1, basically row 1 through 5, or row 1 through 6. You'll just single crochet in every stitch across. So it is no increase or anything like that. So single crochet across rows 1 through 6, you will single crochet in every stitch across and chain 1. And afterwards, if you so choose to do your border, you can. If you don't, you don't have to, and I'll be back to show you how to add it all together. Okay, now you will, oh, sorry, I forgot to yarn off. But what you were going to do is you were going to attach each, oh, I should not have done that. You're going to attach each finger together. So, hold on for a moment. As you see here, make sure I'm not confusing you. As you see here, I have one of my knuckles. And what you are going to do is you're going to take the next knuckle that goes towards it. I mean, they all really kind of look the same, so it doesn't really, I guess it doesn't really matter which one it looks like. I guess you should remember what order it's in. What you're going to do is you're going to slip in, you're going to slip stitch into, you can either chain 1, like I have, chain 2 just in case, and you are going to slip stitch. Remember to go into the back part, the back portion of it, because it's going to be facing this way. So go into the back portion of one of the end stitches on your next knuckle, and you're going to go in there, yarn over, pull through all of them, and chain 1. And as you can see now, it's together. So you're going to chain 1, and you're going to yarn, well, I already yarned off with this. I had enough yarn to, and this is where the yarn needle comes in, because you're going to sew in your missing ends. Now, if you're like me, this was kind of dumb for me to do, but make sure you don't tie in your ends, or pull your ends in, or tie your ends too tight, because you'll need to attach them. So I'm going to undo this and chain 2 and add on my next knuckle, and then I'll show you what to do next. Alright, now after we're done, this is what it's going to look like. And the last part that we are going to do before we start adding everything together is you are going to take your blue yarn, your light blue yarn again. Make sure you can see this. I know my hand keeps getting in the way. But you're going to take your slip knot and add your 4.5mm hook, and you are going to go into the last stitch on either side of which you want to do it with, and you're going to make a slip stitch, and you're going to chain one, and what you are going to do is simply go into the same stitch, and you're going to single crochet across the border. If I'm correct, let me make sure. But I can see. Okay, yes, you're going to single crochet across the entire border. And after you are done, you are going to slip stitch. You're going to slip stitch. And make sure you go into the chain 2 that you did to the chain 2 that you made, and it might be a bit twisted, but make sure you go into the chain 2 that you have made, connecting each knuckle or finger, and that's what it's going to look like, as opposed to doing all the rest of them. And after you are done, we will add everything together. As you can see, I have got my Brofist on. Now after you've got it on properly, I'm just going to stuff the rest of my pillow in and stuff the rest of the pillow, and after I do that, I will be back to show you the finished product.